Hello and welcome to another Andy's Shed Live, this time for Sunday the 4th of October 2020. Hello there, and how the devil are you? Welcome to the show. It is Sunday the 4th of October 2020, as I say, just gone 6 o'clock here in the UK, and it's time for another live show. Hi to everybody who's already in the chat at the moment. Christopher 2000 is there, as are a couple of others. I can't see who it is until they say something, but I know they're there. I just see a number in front of me. But yeah, welcome to the show. It is Sunday once again. Oh, Jimmy Myers is there. Evening, Jimmy. And well, it's that time of the week once again, isn't it? It soon rolls around a Sunday. At the moment, I'm finding it's rolling around a bit too fast in certain ways. That's why we're not here next week. But do not fear, there is a YouTube premiere in my place next week, so there'll still be something new on the channel this week, next week rather. It's just that I won't be here live, but there will still be something new at 6 o'clock next Sunday evening. At least that is if everything goes according to plan, and you will still be able to get in the chat and everything. That'll still be on as well. So that's a little something different for next Sunday for you. But for this week, we're as normal for this week. As always, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do so via the website. The website is needing a bit of an update at the minute, but I promise you it will get one soon. andyshed.copress.net, and click on the contact us button if you want to get in touch with us here at the show. And we've also now got this shop where you can get various little telephone bits and pieces as well. andysemporium.copress.net is the place to go to for that. Right, what have we got on the show today? Well, it's a quickie today. It's tying up a few loose ends and things today. And some of the loose ends that I want to tie up is, remember we were talking last week about signal boxes and things, weren't we? Well, I've been sent some photos courtesy of Christopher out there in Oz. If only I could get them all in the right order, that'd be marvellous, wouldn't it? Hang on. So, yeah, we were talking about signal boxes and lever frames and things, and so Chris has sent us some pictures of South Geelong, or Geelong, or however you pronounce it, of the signal box out there. And that is what the box controls. Wait till you see the signal box. So as far as I'm aware, this is still actually a working signal box as far as I know. So just wait till you see it. There you go, a signal box with old-fashioned lever frames in it. Now, how many of those do you see these days? So yeah, so it's very interesting that, because they seem to have wrapped rags around all the levers. Now, that must be an Australian thing. Maybe Christopher can tell us. But that must be an Australian thing to do, because they don't do that here in the UK. What they do here, the signal men have a rag or a cloth in their hand. And they just sort of put it on whichever lever they're wanting to pull at the time. And I've never quite understood why they do it. Why do you have to wrap a cloth around the lever to pull it? They are pullable without putting a cloth around them. But yeah, so here they will normally all be exposed, and you just wrap a cloth around it when you want to pull it. But over in Australia, they seem to have a separate cloth around each one for some reason. So that's one photo of it. Have we got any more? Hang on, let's see if we've got another one. Yeah, there's one from a different angle of it, and it looks like a big signal box as well. It looks like quite a sizable box that they're in. So that's the old signal box, and that is what it actually controls. So it's got a fair bit to do, hasn't it? Yeah, there's some work for it to do. Let's say. So thanks to Christopher for those photos of the signal boxes there. While we're on the subject of signal boxes, and that is also sent us some photos of another signal box. This, believe it or not, is Epping. Yeah, and what we're looking at is, can you see there's an Ericsson N1900 phone there in that signal box at Epping that's got preserved along with the signal box, just in case you can't see it. There you go, a bit bigger. Yeah, it looks like a very interesting colour. Unless the colour's off on the camera that's took that picture, what on earth colour is that phone? Is it a red one and is the colour's off on the camera? I don't know. But if anybody knows what that is, then yeah, please do feel free to get in touch with us here on the show if you know what colour that phone's supposed to be. I think it's red, but I'm not 100% certain. Oops, wrong camera. I knew I'd do that. Right, let's catch up with the chat. Dominic says, a couple of weeks ago you mentioned the Ivory 746 was one of the less interesting phones a GPO issued. Well, I was having a look and there is an Ivory 746 8746 still in use by a very important and well-known person. Can you guess who? Can I guess who is using a 746 8746? And it's what? It's a well-known person. A very important and well-known person. Well, it's not me then, because I'm not important. A very important and well-known person. Right. Not sure. I'm wanting to say Boris Johnson. Is there one on Boris's desk? Have we seen Boris's desk on the news or something this week? And there's one on his desk. Go on, Dominic. Where is this phone? I'm just waiting for Dominic to respond on the chat. There's a bit of a lag on between me doing something and it actually coming through in the chat. There's a lag because there's a lag between my whatever I'm doing actually going up to YouTube and going out through the system. Then there's a lag on the chat as well. So there's like two lots of a lag on it. Dominic says Jimmy was good. Is it the Queen? The Queen? The Queen? Has she still got a 746 on her desk? Where did we see this, Dominic? Where did we see this one, Dominic? This picture of the Queen or whatever. Right, I'm just looking for another photo here. Right. Christopher says, did you get the email I sent you about the Ericsson phone cases? I did. I'm just now sort of stalling a minute while I find it and see if I can upload it. Right, let's have a look, see if I can find it. Yes, I can. Right, I'll do it in a minute, Christopher. Dominic says the thing about the Queen and the 746, it was from a photo of a phone call with Boris. Really? The Queen and Boris Johnson, and there's a 746 on the desk. I might have to Google it. I might have to have a look and see if I can find it. Alright, let's see if I can find it. Let's see now. What is it? Queen calls Boris. You know, she has as well. She has. The Queen definitely uses a 746/8746. There's proof. I'll find you the proof in just a second. I'm aware that we may have frozen or something at the minute. Just bear with us. I'll find you the proof. Just a sec. Right. I can't believe the Queen is still using a 746, but apparently it is true. Oh nuts, where's that gone? Right. Right, if only I could get rid of that box there. Oh, that's it. I'll get back to the Queen and Boris in a minute. But for now, I just want to show you something else that Chris sent me while I've got it loaded up in the camera. We were talking about these about the slight differences on telephone number rings the other day, and Chris has sent me this comparison photo. The top photo there is the phone on my desk here, which is not an Ericsson. It's a private phone, but it's not an Ericsson one. And the bottom one is Christopher's Ericsson. Now the numbers, no, sorry, the top one's not the private phone. That's not the Ericsson. I'm lying to you. The top one is this case, isn't it? It's not the phone that's on my desk. It's this case, that top image, because we were comparing them last week, if you remember, and this case, which could be an Ericsson case, seems to have got very similar numbers to what Chris's N1970B has got. Although I have to say that on Christopher's case, the numbers don't look as bold to me, but it might just be a trick of the cameras and things. But yeah, they certainly look the same shape on that, and on this one that's not an Ericsson on my desk, they are a slightly different shape. So yeah, interesting stuff. Right, I'm going to leave that up a minute while I try and get this picture of the Queen calling Boris, because you won't believe it. Just bear with me 1 second while I try and find this. Bom bom bom. Right, I've got the image on my screen. I just got to get it to you guys now. Right, but you won't. Sorry, just talk amongst yourselves a minute while I'm doing this. Okay. So I've got to do that. What do I add? A window. Crop the top off that. Right, are you ready? Here it is. The Queen using a 746. Can you see that? It's a bit flickery, isn't it? I don't know why it's flickering, but it is. For some reason I can't quite fathom, but yeah, there's the Queen using a 746, just in case you didn't believe it. And apparently that's earlier this week, talking to Boris Johnson. So there you go. Never thought you'd see anything where it went from the Queen to me in quick succession. So yeah, interesting stuff. Right, just let me catch up on the chat now. I've gone through all that. Oh, Michael T's here in the here with us as well. Hello there, Michael. He's got an update on the on the 8mm projection. He's been all over it with the multimeter, he says. It's all good, switch good, lamp plug is giving out the 12 volts, new bulb on order. The other bulb I tried, I had for many years. So, is it the bulb then, Michael? Is it the bulb for this projector that's the problem, do we think? Is it the bulb that's still giving you difficulties with it? Chris says, did you notice a GPO 64D bell in the South Geelong lever photo? No, I didn't. I'll have another look. A 64D bell in this photo somewhere. I'm looking, but it's only small on my screen now. Can I make it bigger? Full screen. Right. There's a 64D bell there somewhere. Can we see it? Is it sitting flat on the shelf? Is it sitting flat on the shelf? What colour is it as well? Is it an ivory one? Is it a black one? Because there's something sitting flat on the shelf above the 5 levers that are all back together, and I'm wondering if that's one. There are all sorts of things mounted on that shelf though, aren't there? All kinds of things. It's an interesting lever frame. That I'll leave that picture up a minute while I catch up on the chat. Dominic says that phone that the Queen is on, he says, it could be a push button 782 though. But the earlier open hole Mark II case suggests otherwise. Yes, I agree with that. Hang on, what am I doing now? I'm getting the wrong thing now. Jimmy says, if my mum and dad were still here, they would be using my 706. Didn't like modern phones. Don't forget the royals don't like spending money. That's why she uses the phone. Dominic says, my first thought is it was staged, but you have a point, Jimmy. Christopher says that it's where the paper is on the wall. This bell set, where the paper is on the wall. Right, I'm going to have another look for it. Is it hiding behind the paper? Is it a black one hiding behind the piece of paper? Is that? Is that where it is? There's a real lag on the chat today. Michael's got back to me about the bulb in his projector. He said he'd be amazed if it isn't the bulb because he's gone through everything else. Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's the bulb. It's always the simplest thing when you've checked everything else, whatever it is. Always a simple thing when everything else is done. Yeah, Chris says the bell it's behind the paper on the wall. Christopher says. So shall we have another? Shall we see if we can see it a bit better? If I can make it bigger, perhaps. Let's see if I can make it bigger, shall we? Right, we'll have a go. And then we'll see if we can spot it. It says it's behind the piece of paper on the wall. So is it there? a black one behind that bit of paper there that's pinned to the wall, with 2 metal gongs on. Oh, I can see the 2 gongs, but now I can't see the bell set. I think it's a bit like Where's Wally, this, isn't it? Yeah, can anybody else see that? I can see 2 gongs, but they're not where what I thought was the bell set was. But I'm going to give up on that. Making my eyes go funny. That is, but yeah. Right, okie dokie. We'll sort that out in time, I'm sure. Right, crikey, there's a lot in the chat tonight. Have I missed anything in this chat? Because there's quite a lot in it tonight, and I've been rabbiting, haven't I? Christopher says in 1970 they had 4 GPO 746 phones in number 10 Downing Street. Yeah, they probably had a lot more than 4 actually, I would have thought, in 1970. Probably 4 on the PM's desk or something. Yeah, and they'd have all been Mark 1s most likely, as Dominic points out. Yeah, they will probably all have been Mark 1s. Back then. I wonder if they got numbered bezels. Oh no, because you don't see many of those around these days. But yeah, 746 Mark 1s. I've not got a 746 Mark 1 yet today, but I have got a Diacon 706. Yeah, this was in that thing of bits and pieces that I got the other week. You remember when I got all those cases the other week? This was in amongst them, and it looks really good until you realise that there's a chunk missing out of it. Can you see it? Can you see the missing bit? Here. Front edge of there. Oh, just a tiny bit out the front edge. Only about that much. What I've not covered up with my grotty thumbnail. But that's enough that you can't hold the little metal clip in that sits in there. So I'm wanting now to do something with this case. I'm wanting to put it on a phone because I've got a 1960 and a 1961 chassis for 706s, and I'm wanting to do something with this case so I can use those ancient chassis. So I need to find a way of repairing Diacon. And here's the interesting bit. The cases, as we know, if they're ABS, if they're later ones made out of ABS, we can do stuff with those using acetone. We just melt a bit of leftover plastic with acetone, and we can sort of rebuild the cases, make it into like an acetone ABS sort of putty, and rebuild the cases. Until now, I didn't think there was a way of doing it with Diacon, but apparently there is. There are things that will melt Diacon, because Diacon basically is similar to Perspex and that, and there are ways of gluing that together with a solvent, and if a solvent will glue it together, a solvent will melt it, obviously, because that's what solvent is. It names on the tin sort of thing. So I'm hoping we might have a way of doing something with Diacon, but here's the catch. Because I have to rebuild this sort of hole and you can see it better if I turn it that way around, the hole here. But can you see that? Because I have to build that, I need some scrap Diacon that is ivory. So here's the thing, has anybody out there got any scrap ivory Diacon? Now, I've never kept broken Diacon before because I didn't think we could do anything with it, so I've always slung it. But I now need a bit to try and repair this, if I can get some of this stuff that does eat it. So if anybody's got any bits of scrap ivory Diacon out there, I would be interested in acquiring a bit. Claus is here. He says, "Evening, Andy." Evening, Claus. Nice to see you, hear from you, whatever it is when you type in. You're not really seeing them, you're not really hearing them, are you? What are you doing when you actually type it? I don't quite know. But yeah, so this week, Diacon, we're going to try and repair that. If I can find a bit of scrap Diacon. It's amazing how thick these are as well, compared to the later ones. They're really, really thick, these. Can you see how thick the edge of that is? It's really, really thick compared to the later ones. So I need a bit of ivory Diacon. If anybody's got any, everybody's gone quiet now. Crikey, there's 13 people in this chat today. Blimey. Alright, if anybody's got any questions or anything, folks, now is the time. Now I've done all my very complicated photos and things. Remember, if you do want to get in touch with us after the show has ended, you can do by going to the website here, andyshed.corepress.net, and click on the contact us thing that you will find on there, and you can find us that way on there. andyshed.corepress.net. Right. Christopher says, did Ericsson N1900 phone use the same junction box like the GPO 706 phone uses? That's a good question. I would think the answer is probably yes. Yeah, I would think the answer is yes. There are certainly versions of those little junction boxes around that haven't got anything written on them. You know, normally they have the old ones have GPO written on them, and later ones have telecom written on them. But there are some with nothing written on them. So I wonder if they were Ericsson ones or something, the ones that have got nothing written on them. So yeah, I would think so, because I would think the phone came with its cable as far as the junction box. That was part of the phone. So when you got the stores sent out a phone, in the case of the GPO, or when Ericsson sent out a phone, I would guess it would be the same. They actually sent out the phone with the cable and the junction box, and then it was up to the engineer to wire it in. So that's what I'm guessing. Dominic says my 706 has a similar chip there, but not as badly, which seems common for Diacon cases. I think I'll leave mine as it is, as it's not normally visible while the handset is on the hook. Yeah, I have seen them with it there before. Christopher's 2000 says, I know GEC made junction boxes. Yeah, they all made them for the GPO or telecom as it later became. So all the companies that made the phones made the boxes as well, I'm guessing, and GEC was one of them. But did GEC make some without a name on? Is that what we're saying? Because I have a feeling they probably would have. I'm not sure if this phone on my desk is not a GEC. This black one on my desk here. I think that might be a GEC, if I can show you it. That one there. Yeah. I think it might be a GEC. It's certainly not an Ericsson. But yeah, and the numbers are a little bit different on it, as we established last week. Okay, marvellous. Do you want to know a bit of something else from the 1970s as well? Right. Are you ready for a bit of a musical interlude from the 1970s? Right. Can you guess what this is? What instrument this is? If I can make it work, which I can't. Can you guess what instrument it is? From the 1970s. I'll leave it with you for a minute, that. Christopher 2000 says, my Ericsson phone was missing the junction box when I got it. Yeah, a lot of them are missing. A lot of them are missing the junction boxes. They tend to get cut off. The cables tend to get cut and shortened a bit, and the junction box gets left on the wall. I have got an aunt who had a phone installed in the 70s, and she's now got a modern phone. But I know for a fact on the skirting board she has still got one of those little junction boxes. The modern BT engineers cut the old phone off and then ran a new wire from somewhere outside, drilled another hole sort of in the door frame and sent another wire in. But she's still got the old junction box on the wall. I keep meaning to go one of these days and with a screwdriver and go and recover it. Dominic says, is it a stylophone? It is, Dominic. It's a very early stylophone. This is something that I've been tinkering with this week. To get this going. It's a very, very early 1960s stylophone. Not one of the remade ones that were for sale in Maplin's a few years ago, just before Maplin shut down, because those ones have got rounded corners, and this, being a genuine original one, has got very sharp square corners. It's got proper take your eye out corners. This has, and you can tell it's a very early one because of these gaps between the keys. See these brown gaps between the keys? They were only there on the very, very early ones. So I've been messing with that today, trying to sort that out. The technology inside a stylophone is something to behold, actually. Or rather, the lack of technology inside a stylophone is something to behold. Because there really is not much technology to it. If we have a little look, see there, you see there it is, and nothing holds them together. You just supposedly just push that little white lever bit down, and it should come apart. But there's nothing to lever against on the other bit, so you have to sometimes give it a bit of a hand. There you go. Right. There you go. See, the back comes completely off, and there's a 9-volt battery inside it. The modern ones don't have a 9-volt battery; they just have little AA cells inside. But look, the technology, or lack thereof, in there. It's a resistor central in the back of there. If I can get it in focus. Now later ones had the resistors bundled into like potted blocks, but this is an early one, as I say, with all discrete resistors. And they sound better, the early ones, I think. So there you go. That is the interior of a stylophone. Got to put it back together now, haven't I? Trying to refocus my camera as well. That's not an easy thing to do. Where's my time thing? Oh, it's there. 40 minutes. We're okay for a bit yet. So yeah, right, how do I put this back together now? Right, there's a knack to this. You have to sort of put it like that, because the battery, you see, is on a short cord, but you have to put the battery in place in the back like that, so it sits in its little slot thing there, and then put that side of the case down, and then this side of the case should go down, and hopefully now we've got it all back together. Dominic says we've still got a lot of old GPO wiring in place around the house, including grey junction boxes and a bell set 26 tucked away next to the doorbell. It's all disconnected now though. Well, you must reconnect it, Dominic, that bell set 26. Sure you could reconnect that. There's your project for the week. Go and reconnect that bell set 26 for us. Just Christopher says, I temporarily put a 1950s GPO junction box on my N1970B phone to wire it to a RJ12 line cord until I get the correct junction box. Yeah, I think it's the same junction box you want. I think you want the same junction box basically, just without the GPO written on it. Oh no, 1950s GPO junction box. So that'll be a Bakelite one then. So that is the wrong sort. You don't want one of the little plastic ones. There's plenty of them around on eBay and those little plastic ones. Some of them are horrendously expensive though, but you can get the ones without a name on. Somebody was selling them on eBay for about £1 or something a while back. The ones without a name on. So you might get lucky there. Shall I have a tune? I've learnt something about stylophones as well. The early ones didn't have a volume control on them, but you can do things by you can do it like a trumpet, you see. Got it wrong. I still can't do it. Yeah, that's enough of that. I'm rubbish at it. I can make it work, I can't play it. But there are people who can play it on YouTube, so have a look on YouTube. They will amaze you. But that is an early stylophone that we've been messing with this week. They've been restoring this week. Another bit of sort of 60s and 70s technology around this place. Christopher says he's still got a 1970s PMG telephone jack in his house. A 19th. Just the jack. So you had jacks in the 70s, did you there? Well, we didn't have jacks until the 80s. They were hardwired in here in the 70s. So I'm putting things back. Yeah, it was all hardwired in the 1970s here, because it was all rented, of course. You couldn't swap phones and things around. And then when the plug and socket came in, you could swap phones around, and you could unplug it from downstairs when you went to bed and plug it in upstairs and things like that. That was an absolute revelation. That was when that started happening in the early to mid 80s. and that's also when you could start buying phones as well in this country, and that's when the 8746 of course came about, and when the Brown Yeoman came about as well, because as far as I know, the Brown Yeomans, the Brown 746s, were never rented phones. They were always ones that you bought through the what at the time would have been the telecom shop. But you could never rent a Brown Yeoman, as far as I know. Brown 746 or Brown 8746, you had to buy them. That's why there aren't so many of them about. So yeah, but there were quite a few of all the other colours. We've had this conversation before about what was the rarest colour, and I honestly don't know. I was once told that topaz yellow was the rarest colour, but I have got quite a few yellow phones. Then I thought, well, what ones have I got the least of? And then that was blue, Concord blue. But now I've got quite a few Concord blue ones as well. So I think it's because you look for the rare colours and you sort of end up getting more of them. So I don't know what is the rarest colour. I would say it is either topaz yellow or Concord blue was the rarest colour, I think. But which one of those two is anybody's guess. I really have no idea. Christopher says the only phones that were hardwired in the 70s were wall phones. Yeah, now wall phones here were interesting because they didn't have the junction box. The drop wire from outside went straight into the back of the phone on those, so they didn't have the junction box on because they were properly hardwired, and you never moved them about. You see, the desk telephone, they thought you were going to pick it up and move it around a bit, so it had that. The box was fixed normally. There were screws in the back of that little junction box, and that was fixed to the wall. But you could move it about on its own cord. You know, you could like pick it up off a table to move the table and things like that. And there were different lengths of cord as well to go on the 706s and the 746s. You could have different lengths of cord between the junction box and the phone. I think there were 3 different lengths you could have. But the wall phones, because they were stuck on the wall, there was no way for the person renting the phone to get it off the wall without taking the phone apart. Yeah, they were just hardwired in. The drop cable from outside came straight into the phone. If it was done neatly, it came in right in the back plate of the phone. It didn't come in the bottom, it came inside the back plate of the phone. And you didn't see the wire at all if it was done neatly. There was a programme on TV here, a drama thing last year at some point, and I forget what it was called, that was set in the 70s, and in the sort of kitchen of the house that was the main focal point of this drama, there was a wall phone there on the wall, and it was right. It was absolutely bob on right. Dominic says there were Plan 4 jacks for premium subscribers, especially for trim phones. Yes, I've got some of those. Those Plan 4 jacks were a bit strange, but yeah, I have got some of those, and I've got some that are on curly cords, not on line cords. I've got some that are on the end of curly cords for some reason, and I don't know why. The trouble is, I've only got one socket to plug them into. But yeah, I have got some of those. But I think they were a very rare thing. I think they were a very, very rare thing indeed. I never saw any at the time. I think it was just if you've got one of these installations where you've got lots of phones on your installation, you know, 2 or 3 phones, and you can move them around and plug them in as necessary. Dominic says the plan forward jack was wired to the bell set, so even if you unplugged your phone, the bell set would ring. Right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, well that was a requirement, wasn't it? That that you had to have a phone on the end of your line that would ring at all times. That's why trim phones were doctored, so you couldn't turn them off. You couldn't turn the ringer off. There was a little screw inside that was put in, so you could turn the ringer to loud or soft, but you couldn't turn it to the off position. Because whenever I get a trim phone now, I take that little screw out, so I've got the option to turn it off if I want to. It's one of the first things I do with a trim phone when it comes in. But yeah, it was a requirement of Telecom or BT or GPO, whatever you like to call it back then, that all subscribers who had a line must have something on the end of the line that would ring when somebody was wanting to call them. If only mobile phones were the same way, how many times do you ring somebody and the mobile phone switched off? Yeah, hands up if you've done it. Yeah. But yeah, if only mobile phones had to ring all the time, that'd be brilliant. When you're trying to get hold of somebody you can't get hold of, that'd be brilliant. Not so good for the person whose phone it was, probably. Right, I think we're getting to the end of it. Right, well, we're getting to the end of the show as well. It's coming up to the hour. I tried to get it in within the hour now, so that it will automatically upload itself to a library. If you want to watch this after the fact and you're fed up with the ads on YouTube and stuff, then why not say to hell with YouTube, because all our content does, or most of the content that we do, does also end up getting uploaded normally a couple of days after to library, which is lbry.com or lbry.tv. If you want to watch it using the library app, you get the library app from lbry.com. If you want to watch our content on library but don't want to use the library app, then go to lbry.tv and search for Andy's Shed on there. It's lbry.tv, and you can find our content on there as well as on YouTube as well. Dominic says, wouldn't next week be a railway walk, Andy? No, it's a canal walk. No, it's not a railway next week. It's a canal. It's the first bit of the Chesterfield Canal. There's a big push to finish the restoration of the Chesterfield Canal at the moment that goes between Chesterfield and the River Trent. They've done about 14 miles of it so far. They've got 9 miles left to do that are not navigable. Basically between a place called Staveley and a place called Kiverton Park, and they are wanting to get that last 9 miles done by 2027 because it's the 300th anniversary of the canal. So I realised the other day that I didn't actually know where the canal finished in Chesterfield, where the Chesterfield end of it was. So we've been out to have a walk on it, and we on this first part that you'll be able to see next week, we're going from Chesterfield to a place called Tapton Lock, and then the next one will go from Tapton Lock to Staveley, and then the last one up to the end of what they've opened so far, because they've started from the wrong end. You see, the other end is good. The other end is connected. The River Trent end is still connected to the canal network, and that via the River Trent. But you can go through Worksop and that on it, and up to Kiverton Park, I believe it is, where it ends at the minute. That end is good, but they started dredging it and digging it out again at the Chesterfield end. So they've got this little bit at the Chesterfield end, which is actually quite a big bit now. And then they've got a bit that's still filled in. Then they've got the bit from Kiverton Park onwards to the River Trent that's on the national network. So they're wanting to get rid of that bit in the middle that's filled in, so they can get boats all the way off the network, all the way up to Chesterfield and back. Because there's only a couple of boats on the Chesterfield bit, because obviously they're kind of landlocked, they can't get anywhere. So that'll be on next week. We'll be taking you down the Chesterfield Canal next week. So also next week we've got sewing machines, I think, as well. Or might be week after next. Yeah. If you've got a vintage sewing machine, or if anybody you know has got a vintage sewing machine, stick around over the next couple of weeks, because there'll be a video coming out on how to service those as well, hopefully. That about wraps it up for now. As I have said before, remember you can go to the website andyshed.coldpress.net to find more content over the week ahead. And like I say, I'll not be here live next week. I might be in the chat. But next week, next Sunday at around about 6 o'clock, there will be a YouTube premiere on this channel, as they call them. Hopefully without any annoying adverts in it. Yeah, are the adverts driving you mad on YouTube these days? They've suddenly started putting a lot of adverts into stuff, and YouTube has started in the last couple of weeks inserting adverts into stuff that didn't previously have adverts. They've been putting them in automatically into people's back catalogues of videos. So YouTubers who have done like 1,000 videos and can't physically go back through them all and go, please do not put adverts in each one, because you have to click on each one to do it. YouTube's automatically put adverts into all their back catalogue of videos, and a lot of YouTubers are absolutely up in arms about it. So as I say, you're better to watch on library, lbry.tv, search for Andy Shed. You'll find us on there, but you can't watch the live streams on there, unfortunately, or the live premieres. Right, Dominic says he used to walk along the Birmingham and Worcester at the Brum end a lot. It says it was a very interesting canal. Not been on that one, Dominic. I might have to go and have a look at that one. But yeah, but we're doing Chesterfield next week, so you'll be able to see a bit about Chesterfield next week, around about same time, same place as we are normally here. Right, that about wraps it up for me for now. I'm suddenly a bit pushed for time. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to Christopher for sending all those photos in. Remember, if you've got any photos, send them to us, andyshed.coldpress.net. But from me for now, have a brilliant week ahead. I'll see you next time. Thanks everybody. Bye for now.